Alright, hello everyone, my name is Disc. I'm a title healer from the War Within, and I'm here to help you become your group's hero. So this is a viewer request to have a Windrunner Spire as Oracle to have a comparison, so I'm doing that for the viewer. And we have some really exciting changes to the UI that I'm going to highlight here, having to do with our Grid 2 and an API restriction being lifted. But before we get into the key, please remember to check me out on Medify. It's going to be the best way to support the growth of the channel. I offer all my export codes over there. I offer private lessons, one-on-one private lessons. That's a great way to level up your gameplay. Also, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe on the video, trying to ramp up a little bit before the season starts. And back to the Grid 2. So I do have this shared on my Medify, but the biggest change we've had to our UI yet is this API restriction being lifted. We now have healer buffs are no longer secret auras, so we can track them. And what that means for anyone using my Grid 2 is we can highlight our party frames based on the presence of atonement. And I think every role probably has the best way you can utilize this type of function, but I think Discipline, more than any spec in the game, can benefit from this change. And it's because every second of gameplay, pretty much every global, we have to make a decision. Do we attack our enemies or do we defensively heal our party? And being able to quickly at a glance see how many atonements we have out with a color shift on our party frames makes that incredibly easy to do, and it really does a lot for making the right decisions in combat. I'm very used to this. I encourage anyone who's new to Discipline to try this. If you download my export code, it makes it really easy to plug and play. But per the request here, we're going to do the comparison. I think it's fair to at least compare the damage between Oracle and Voidweaver. And I'm going to splash here on the screen. This is the damage from the last key compared to the damage of this key. So Oracle is at 12,000 damage per second, and Voidweaver is at 21,000 damage per second. So it's about double. And I think in higher key levels with more gear, that'll probably be closer to triple. So if you're newer to Disc and you're wondering, what am I going to play? I think Oracle is going to be necessary for the super high keys out there. It simply pairs better with our Apex talents. It's a little bit easier to play, but there's no harm in that. There's no shame in that. It pairs better with our Apex talents. Maybe potentially you like the fantasy of these absorb values. I do think a healer that brings absorbs to a dungeon, that is an invaluable utility. But Voidweaver is probably going to be where I'm starting out. You can see here the value and the damage difference. It's a little bit more fun for me, a little bit more complex, and it kind of plays into the fantasy of Shadow Priest instead. But here we have our talents. Not too much to talk about here on the talent pane or in the key, to be totally frank. But we're going to want Mass Dispel, mainly for pull 1, but there's a lot of pulls with double magics. So Mass Dispel for the win in this key. And then over on the Discipline side, this is full defense. That's probably going to be the best approach for Oracle compared to Voidweaver, which is very offensive. But we have bigger shields here, Wheel and Woe for bigger shields, Searing Light, and then all of our Apex talents. And, there's not too much of a rotation here, but the biggest thing you want to do is just bounce back and forth between Penance and Shield. And I would say selectively, you can start dropping shields. That'll save you mana. And you can then fish for void shields and just get more value that way, stacking a Wheel and Woe to 10. But the only thing I'm really thinking about in this key or anytime I play Oracle is Searing Light. And this is a small area where you can min-max. I think it brings a little bit more fun back to the game. But you want to try and have at least 2 of these out at a time, rather than continually refreshing the same Searing Light on one target. For example, our first boss in here is a 2-target cleave boss. You want Searing Light on both targets. Switching targets between each penance will also keep your Shadow Word Pains active and will spread your Searing Light rather than just refreshing it. And last, before we start the video, I wanted to give a shout out and a big thanks to one of my viewers, Beavero. It was watching his video that reminded me that API restriction was lifted, and the two of us kind of troubleshooted and workshopped this together, getting the Grid 2 back up and running for the color shift on health bars. So thanks to him. Check out his channel. I'm linking it in the description down below. Remember to check me out on Medify. please give a comment, like, and a subscribe on the video. And without further ado, let's go ahead and clip over to the key. All right, here we go. So if you're wondering what the hell I mean by our party frames changing color based on the presence of atonement, you're about to see it. And all I'm thinking in this first pull is try and imagine this is a 17 or 18. You have to have your finger primed on Mass Dispel, and you want to use it when at least like 2 magic dots are out. And you might also be thinking, wow, it's kind of hard to see that magic dispel indicator with the blue frames. You're right, and I've already fixed it. So there's our Mass Dispel, and watch the uppies here. So right after the cast of uppies and before the channel, you can squeeze in a spell. And I squeezed in a death there. You can squeeze in any spell you want. But yeah, assuming this is a higher level key, all you want to do is make sure you're coding with as many void shields as possible. Prime your Mass Dispel to clear, I would say, at least 2 of the magic dots. Always remember after a Mass Dispel, you still have your single dispel. So clearing those magic dispels, that's going to be of the utmost importance, especially in higher keys. In higher keys, you might want to also go ahead and just press your defensives, Desperate Prayer and Fade, just assuming you're going to die. Okay. So as Oracle, here we go. I like playing Mind Blast on cooldown as much as I can. I look at it as a currency that buys us a shadowy penance. And on trash, especially this type of trash, there's no need in holding it. I like to play it for the extra output. Yep, and if you look at the grid 2, we can see where our atonements are very clearly. And we can also see where our absorb values are very clearly, the darker blue.
She spent many days tending to the gardens here, but the wilderness has overtaken it now.
So I dot quite a few, switching my targets for my penance to get multiple searing lights out. And wow, I love having that color shift back for atonement. I cannot wait to play some higher keys. Whoa, what's happening to the audio? So here we see poisons come into play. If you didn't watch my last video, that was another big change I had to the grid 2 profile. A poison is not for us to dispel, but it's still nice for us to see it. So the grid 2 will, oh my god, the grid 2 will show it as a dotted line compared to a solid border for dispels we can manage. Okay, I'm setting my focus early. I still use focus targeting as Oracle, but it is far less important compared to Voidweaver. Okay, switching my targets, spreading my searing lights. And I'm not playing my rotation of Penance Shield too well in watching my playback here. It's not super important at this level. But dropping shield sometimes is okay for mana and okay to like time your heals better. But it looks like I was way overstacking Wheel and Woe there while I had a Void Shield. Yeah, so every penance you cast as Oracle will yield you a 7 or a 9 stack of Wheel and Woe, which is fine to drop. So if you cast another penance beyond that, you're overstacking the Wheel and Woe and there's some loss. Which is why I'm saying selectively you can pull a shield out, overstack your Wheel and Woe, save a little mana, and fish for a Void Shield proc.
The soothing sounds of my harp brought Verisa joy beyond measure. I'll need that relic.
And yeah, I'm doing a little bit of the pulling for the tank. Sue me. Putting my Mind Blast on cooldown. Making sure I always pair a Radiance with my Mind Blast. Getting the extra bolts from Harsh Discipline for the Shadowy Penance. I just got PI. There goes PI. Here's uppies. So that was not a good example. I think my next example is better. But if you're trying to really min-max and get everything out of your uppies casts, you want to play a spell at the front of uppies and the back of uppies. There was my Fear Bomb. These are great pulls for fear. You might want to replay that if you missed it. But important casts like the Fire Spit here, with Platinator, they stand out as an aqua color. So definitely want to fear those. You can also shadow meld them.
Well now.
And on boss pull here, we have the 2-target cleave right into the 5-man damage event. Using my macro to heal off tank. If you don't know what that is, please ask. But all of my Radiance and Evangelism fire off the tank. That is going to be the best option. So I'm selected. Use my Fade as a personal defensive. And here comes the Gale. So this is where we want full group healing. I played Radiance into Evangelism back to back, getting a double proc. Dropped a 10-stack Villain Woe Void Shield. And again, you're not going to see repercussions of poor cooldown management here, because there's really just not a lot of damage. But the best word of advice for someone testing Oracle is play a shield after every penance. As you become more comfortable, experiment with dropping a shield and fish for more void shields. Anytime you have a 2-target cleave, it is a great place for a personal defensive of some kind, Fade or Desperate Prayer. If you imagine this is a higher key, you're definitely going to want to shield one of those 2 people and potentially pain sup the other, or also start considering using defensive penance to recover that damage. It's quite a bit more substantial on higher keys. Okay, scanning buffs, always a good idea in between combat. Also in between combat, always a good idea to play shield. So, yeah, like even here I would be playing shield after shield after shield. It will reset the cooldown of my pain sup.
Didn't ask to be Ranger General, but she gave everything to the task, including her life.
Always love a good grip, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we have PI. Looks like I did 3 dots. Might have been better to just do 2 dots. Switching my target for my Searing Light. Switching target for Execute. Switching target for another Searing Light. And a Mass Dispel. Also, really loving my add-on Voodoo Casting Bar. You get more play out of it with Voidweaver, but it changes your cast bar's color based on your spell school. Okay, opening with Mind Blast just to get the damage rolling. If you want to be a little bit better of a healer, you know, imagine this is a 15 plus, you might want to save the Mind Blast for this, the Pulsing Shriek. So the big mob there has a group-wide attack. Might be a better place for the Mind Blast when it counts. Okay, so we also have uppies. I hope I played at least in the next room. Switch my target for Searing Light. Oh, here's the uppies. Yeah, just getting it rolling. There's no need for it here. This is Mythic 0. There's really no need to hold back. So there goes the uppies. Curious what other people are saying about Oracle talents for Mythic Plus. If anyone has notes on what other content creators are doing, I think this is a pretty standard approach. There's really not too many options. I think in Raid they're taking Expiation still, but all with a grain of salt. There's a Penance Shield. Switch targets for an Execute. what just happened? Looks like I was fumbling a bit. We also have PI. There's a death. Switch targets for Searing Light. Grabs another death. Okay, and here goes an evangelism for reals. I was getting a little bit behind in healing there, just because everyone was walking away from me. PI's out. And this guy does the same pulsing shriek. So you're going to want to watch for that. Great place for evangelism, great place for your mind blast. I also need a new font for my grid 2 to keep those squares from showing up. Okay, so this is a boss. Great place to practice dot management just with your penance. So between each penance, switch your target. That'll keep your pain alive and keep 2 Searing Lights in the field. And as far as timing our heals, really all we're watching for is this and the Shriek. Great place to play evangelism. Great place for your mind blast, except I'm full sending. This curse looks like a little bit of a misplay from our shaman and mage. I would have decursed both of those and you can mitigate the mechanic, at least one of them. Okay, so we're about to have the Shriek. This is going to be a great place to play your cooldowns. You don't really need them in this key, but I have evangelism. Wouldn't be a bad idea to play it there. It's always a good idea to practice like you're going to perform in the higher keys. Okay, so here's an evangelism to cover the spew. Switch targets for dot spread, grabbed and execute. Not too much to it. Okay, so always playing shields on cooldown out of combat. That's for your paints up. Scanning your buffs to plan your next play. We have PI ready to go.
Come, we have one more relic to find.
Playing shields out of combat will also pre-stack your palms and party. Never hurts. Okay, let's see. I have 2 paints ups. I think I use them here because I pull extra. Shocker. And we have uppies. Okay, I use my defensives just because I pulled. And I think I have a really good uppies here when it comes. You might have to replay it to see. But you want a cast on the front of uppies. And ideally you want to cast before you fall from uppies. Okay, play a Mind Blast. I like getting Mind Blast on cooldown before the uppies. And here's the uppies. It almost served no purpose, but I got the rotation that I wanted. Played the Mind Blast before the uppies. After the cast of uppies, played a Shadow Word Death before I went up. And I think I came down from uppies just with a smite.
For good reason.
Obviously that'd be better if it were a Void Blast, but this is Oracle. You could also do like a Flash Heal on your way down, a Radiance on the way down.
We'll need that map from them.
Opening with Mind Blast just for the play. Switching targets for my dots. Penance and Shield. Penance and Shield. Grabbed and execute. And we're starting to audition mechanics we're going to see on the boss. We're also seeing these dotted lines on party frames. Those are also dispellables. Those are bleeds. They're dotted lines because priests don't do bleeds. Evangelism, I guess, because I felt like it. We're just getting PI, but I think I hold for boss. And please someone chime in if you know and I don't, but this guy has chain lightning here. Does our fear interrupt that? That'd be good to know. But we have group-wide damage from him from the Flame Nova. So on boss, we can go ahead and start talking about it. We're going to have group damage that goes out at 66 and 33. And we also have group-wide damage coming from this Phantasmal guy on his Flame Novas. So it's good to practice as if it were higher key. Save things like Evangelism to recover from the thresholds, the 66 and 33. Save your Mind Blast to recover from those. Save your Mind Blast to recover from the Fire Nova. Okay, we have PI on Rip. I should have been playing more shields there. I'm not super locked in, to be honest. Radiance, Mind Blast, Penance for all of the extra shadowy bolts. And these we can see in party. I use party nameplates to kind of help me see who's selected, but also party frames. Grip the Shaman in there. Not a bad idea to always practice your utility, and I knew that was the Shaman because of party nameplates. Highly recommend. Okay, switch to the big guy here. You've got to switch as healer. The boss does not take damage anymore. Still switching targets for dot spread. So we have one more of those at 33. I have Evangelism. Let's see if I at least play it in good time here for practice. Okay, Shaman was selected. Give him a shield in advance. I'm selected. Fade and paints up on myself. And I would have gripped him in, but it was on cooldown. I think I get one more grip on him though. Helped him out with the mechanic after the fight. Okay, so back to ads. Dot a couple. Might have been hard to tell there, but that's my macro for a personal shield at player. Really nice as Oracle because our shields hit harder on ourselves. A lot of times with our shield and Void Shield and Wheel and Woes, you just want to drop them. And as the healer, taking that defensive shield is never a bad idea. I use it as Voidweaver as well. Shaman. And boss down. So I gripped him in. Always banking on that utility play. He didn't need it, but just for the flex. Okay, so going into last boss, we have arrows on the floor. Biggest thing to note is they serve a dual mechanic. We get dots that apply to the full party. Jumping on an arrow will clear your dot, and jumping on an arrow will also hop you over the wave mechanic. Other than that, we have group-wide damage, and we have single target damage. PI's at the ready, Uppies is at the ready. And I think we have a really niche play of Uppies here where I play it defensively rather than offensively into the Shaman again. Okay. PI is out. So this is where the entire group takes light rot damage from the dot, which you can clear. And it is in good practice not to lose activity time. Jump on an arrow when you have Penance and Death at the ready. You can press them in the air. So we all have a 2-stack because none of us cleared. If you were playing better, you would have wanted to jump on an arrow once before the wave attack. So the Shaman, I'm noticing, is not clearing his buff, so I'm giving him extra love here just to try and help. He has a 3-stack. So here's the group-wide damage. I paint up him just because I really don't want him to die. It's a mission of mine to keep his ass up. Giving him void shields as well. And here we have the single target attack. It now goes on the shaman. I have no more paint ups to give, but I can give him a defensive ultimate penitence. And that is the only thing that kept him alive. So that's a very niche use of penitence. I think 9 times out of 10 it's better used offensively to attack enemies. It didn't matter if the shaman died, but it was kind of my mission to keep him alive.
At last,
And I think I gave him a couple notes here in chat. Looked like it was his first time in here. That is okay. So that's Oracle for the viewer who was interested. Void, excuse me, Penance and Shield, just back and forth all day long. Evangelism to counter damaging events. Keep PI running. Get in good practice of your personal defensives, Fade and Desperate Prayer. Mind Blast is a really nice short cooldown for damaging events as well. And Grid 2 for the win. And we don't have any audio again for the win. But I think what's happening is whenever I clicked my dual monitor, it cuts the audio off from the recording. I have to figure that out if anyone knows. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Check out my Medify. Please give a like, comment, and a subscribe. And until next time, Disc.